Every beer drinker in the world falls somewhere on a 5-level scale, and most of them have no idea the upper levels even exist. If you have ever cracked open a cold one on a Friday night and thought this is fine, but wondered if something better exists, this video is your answer. We are going to walk through every level of beer, from the cans that stock every gas station cooler in America, all the way up to bottles that are so rare people fly across oceans just for the chance to buy one. And by the time we are done, you will know exactly where you fall on this scale, and more importantly, where to go next. Let's start at the beginning. Level 1, the everyday lager. This is where the vast majority of the world lives, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. We are talking about Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, Corona, Heineken. The beers that fill stadiums, stock coolers at barbecues, and show up at every single Super Bowl party from coast to coast. These beers are engineered for one thing, above all else, drinkability. The big brewers use adjuncts like rice and corn alongside traditional barley to create a lighter body and a cleaner, more neutral flavor. That is not laziness, that is precision. Brewing the exact same flavor profile billions of times per year across dozens of countries is one of the most impressive feats in food science. To put the scale in perspective, Anheuser-Busch InBev alone produces over 500 million hectoliters of beer every single year. That is enough to fill about 200,000 Olympic swimming pools every year. At $1 to $2 a can, Level 1 beer is not trying to impress you with complexity. It is trying to be cold and refreshing and exactly what you expected. And for millions of people, that is exactly what they want. But some people eventually get curious, and that curiosity takes them to Level 2. Level 2, the gateway craft. This is where things start to get interesting. Level 2 is the bridge between the mass-produced world and the craft universe, and it is stocked with some of the most important beers in American history. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is the perfect example. When Ken Grossman started brewing it back in 1980, he essentially lit the fuse on the entire American craft beer revolution. That single beer proved there was a market for something with more flavor, more hops, and more character than what the big brewers were offering. Today, Sierra Nevada is still one of the most respected names in the industry. Blue Moon, Belgian White, introduced millions of bargoers to wheat beer. Sam Adams' Boston Lager showed people that an American beer could stand toe-to-toe with European imports. And Guinness Draught proved that dark beer did not have to be heavy or intimidating. The India Pale Ale, the IPA, is the style that really defines this level. It became the most popular craft beer style in America, and it still wears that crown today. When someone walks into a brewery for the first time and asks the bartender to surprise them, 9 times out of 10, they are handed an IPA. It is the on-ramp to the craft world. At $2 to $5 a bottle, Level 2 is where most beer drinkers make the leap from "I just grab whatever is cheapest" to "I actually have a preference." And once you develop a preference, something clicks. You start reading labels, you start noticing differences between styles, you start visiting breweries instead of just liquor stores, and that is when you hit Level 3. Level 3, the Craft Explorer. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. I cover food and drink content every week. Now, Level 3 is where beer transforms from a beverage into a hobby. This is the world of local tap rooms, bottle shares with friends, and beer fridges at home that have somehow taken over half the kitchen. The styles here get wild. Hazy IPAs that look like fresh squeezed orange juice and taste like a tropical fruit explosion. Barrel-aged imperial stouts that spent months inside bourbon casks and come out tasting like liquid chocolate cake. Fruited sours that are so tart they make your face pucker. Belgian-style saisons that taste like a farmhouse in the French countryside, and Japanese rice lagers that are crisp, clean, and impossibly smooth. The hazy IPA in particular has become a phenomenon. Check-ins for the style on the beer tracking app Untappd grew 63% from 2021 to 2024. People cannot get enough of them. At the Craft Explorer level, you start to understand that where your beer comes from matters. A stout brewed 3 blocks from your apartment tastes different from one shipped across the country. The water, the local hops, the brewer's personal touch, it all changes the final product. Prices at this level range from about $5 to $15 per can or bottle, depending on the style and the brewery. A 4-pack of premium hazy IPA from a sought-after local spot can easily run $16 to $20. But to the people at this level, it is worth every penny. And then some of those people start digging even deeper. They hear whispers about Trappist monks, spontaneous fermentation, and beers that get better with age. That is level 4. Level 4. The connoisseur. This is where beer stops being a casual hobby and becomes something closer to a passion. Level 4 drinkers do not just drink beer, they study it, they cellar it, they travel for it. The Belgian Trappist ales are the crown jewels of this level. Only about a dozen monasteries in the entire world are certified to produce authentic Trappist beer. The monks who brew it are not doing it for profit, they are doing it to fund the upkeep of their abbeys and support charitable causes. The father abbot of one of the most famous Trappist breweries once said that they are not brewers, they are monks, and they brew beer to be able to afford being monks. Chimay, Orval, Rochefort, Westmalle. These names carry weight in the beer world the same way Chateau Lafite and Domaine de la Romanée Conti carry weight in the wine world. Then there are the lambics. Cantillon Brewery in Brussels makes beer using spontaneous fermentation, which means they do not add yeast at all. They open the windows of the brewing hall and let wild, airborne yeast drift in naturally. The process takes years, and the result is a sour, complex, funky beer that tastes like nothing else on the planet. On the American side, Three Floyds Brewing in Indiana makes a beer called Dark Lord, a massive Russian imperial stout that you can only buy at the annual Dark Lord Day Festival. People travel from all over the country for the chance to purchase a few bottles, and the barrel-aged variants sell on the secondary market for hundreds of dollars. Prices at level 4 range from about $15 to $75 per bottle, though rare vintages and limited releases can push well past that. This is the level where beer drinkers start understanding something the wine and spirits world figured out a long time ago. Scarcity, craftsmanship, and time create value. But even level 4 has a ceiling. Above it sits something most beer drinkers will never experience. Level 5, the unicorn. This is the peak, the summit. The beers that exist at level 5 are not just rare, some of them are practically mythical. Start with Samuel Adams' Utopias. This is a beer that does not look, smell, or taste like any beer you have ever encountered. It sits at 28% alcohol by volume, which is strong enough to make it illegal in 15 US states. It comes in a custom copper bottle shaped like a brewing kettle, sells for $240, and is released once every 2 years. The brewers age it for up to 18 years in a combination of bourbon, scotch, port, cognac, and other specialty casks. They recommend serving it in a 2-ounce pour at room temperature in a snifter glass, the same way you would serve cognac. Tasting notes describe it as closer to a fine vintage port than anything resembling a traditional beer. Then there is Westvleteren 12, arguably the most famous beer on earth. Brewed by Trappist monks at the Abbey of St. Sixtus in Belgium, this dark quadruple has been voted the best beer in the world multiple times. The monks only brew for 42 days per year, producing about 6,000 hectolitres annually. For comparison, Anheuser-Busch InBev produces over 500 million. Westvleteren is a literal drop in the ocean. To buy it, you have to register on the Abbey's website, wait for an available collection time, drive to the monastery in a pre-registered car, and collect your crate in person. Home delivery is only available within Belgium. The monk's print do not resell on every receipt. Any Westvleteren you find for sale online is technically grey market. At the Abbey, a crate of 24 bottles costs about €60. On resale sites, a single bottle can fetch over $100. And then there are the true unicorns. Antarctic Nail Ale, brewed in Australia using actual Antarctic iceberg water. Only 30 bottles were ever produced, and they sold at auction for $800 to nearly $2,000 each. All proceeds went to the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. Brewdog's The End of History pushed the concept of beer to its absolute limit. It was 55% alcohol by volume, packaged inside taxidermied animals, and priced at $765 a bottle. Only 12 were ever made. At the very top sits Allsop's Arctic Ale, a bottle dating back to 1875 from an Arctic expedition. When a surviving bottle was discovered in a garage in England, it sold at auction for over $500,000. An ale brewed before the invention of the light bulb, still intact, still technically drinkable. That is level 5. These beers are not about refreshment, they are about history, craftsmanship, rarity, and the idea that a drink made from grain and water can become something worthy of a museum. So, where do you fall on the scale? Most people live happily at level 1 or level 2, and there is nothing wrong with that. A cold beer on a hot day does not need to be complicated. But if you have the curiosity to explore, every level above unlocks a new understanding of what this drink can be. You do not have to jump straight to level 5. Just try something one step above where you are now. Order the pale ale instead of the light lager. Visit a local brewery instead of the liquor store. Ask the bartender what is on tap that you have never tried before. That is how the journey starts. Beer has been with humanity for over 10,000 years. The ancient Sumerians brewed it. Egyptian pharaohs were buried with it. Trappist monks devoted their lives to perfecting it. And some of the best brewers alive right now are pushing it into territory nobody thought possible. Whether you are cracking a Bud Light at a tailgate or hunting down a bottle of Westvleteren at a Belgian abbey, you are participating in one of the oldest traditions in human history. And that is worth raising a glass to. Please consider subscribing to support us. We'll see you in the next one.